I always reflect when I hear that question as a boss when you interview new staff. I always want to ask that question. Are you the one we should be hiring, or should we look for another? Can you tell me? It's funny, my last assignment, we came down to 2 people, and to be honest, we weren't particularly excited about either of them. And what we ended up hiring of the 2 was the one who in the interview was leaning forward. The other one sat back in the chair like this. Just a little something for young people if you're thinking of a job interview, that everything that you're presenting is being observed. And that really does connect with John here. John, what Jesus answers, John's not unaware of those things. But what he's also aware of is that he isn't lining up with all the things that he had said. All is strong, many of them. You may recall from last week, he's talking about the axe is laying at the root of the tree. John had in store universal cleanup for the Jewish faith, right? He had this universal cleanup idea, and that's not what Jesus is doing. And so he can see it. His ministry is coming to an end. He's imprisoned. Pretty sure this isn't going to end well. And so on some level, he just wants to know, did I get this right or wrong? Just, guys, go ask him. Is he the one? I think he is. In that sense, it's not that John's in full-blown rebellion or doubt. It's just, it doesn't quite line up. And so then Jesus answers the only way he can. Yeah, it's me. Ta-da! I'm the one. You got it right. What does he win, Johnny? Nothing. Head on a platter, as it turns out. Sorry, I'm still jet lagging a little bit, so I made myself laugh. Now I have no idea where that was going, but it probably wasn't anywhere in particular. Back to the bigger point. When it gets to answers, I think answers often in life are unfulfilling. When we push at the questions of the deeper mysteries of life, answers are often unfulfilling. Richard Rohr once said, a man or woman, they can live without answers, but they can't live without meaning. This is an important distinction. We all strive to better understand all about our world and our universe. I heard a fascinating podcast yesterday on someone asking the question, what's the average size of something in the universe? Based on, down to quarks and up to massive stars. What's the average size of the universe? By the way, it's 0.0004% of a meter, which is like the size of a cold cell, just so you know. That's the average size of things in the universe, right? But I love that we hunger to know these things. It's rooted right in creation, and it's rooted right in the first sin. We're made in the image and likeness of God. In the story around the serpent, it's so natural just because we want to know. And so the serpent, oh yeah, eat that, you'll know. And if you don't think that that's true of us today as much as it was true of anyone who's ever lived, just think about the last time you've been to a restaurant and the waiter sets down the plate and says, careful, this is hot, and you don't wait a nanosecond to put your finger on it. That's the first sin. Or you've been on a subway platform. Do not stand across this line. This line? All the same. And so it's both a good thing in us, that hunger and desire to make sense of everything. And it's also something that leads us to bad places. And so in John today, it's just that hunger to know. Did I do it right? I feel in my bones I did it right. I was the forerunner. And Jesus sends them off with information, not answers. But then he says to the crowd, hey, I got to tell you, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And no one born of woman is more impressive in this world, and yet the least in God's kingdom is far more in front, if you want. What a profound thing for us. And so I would submit to you that our journey of faith is not about getting answers. And I said that wrong. It's not about the answers we get. It's about the getting, the gerund, the getting of the answers. It's the work. It's the actively looking for Christ, not the passively noticing him. Don't believe me? Go back to the prodigal son story. Is the father passively noticing his son coming up the road, or is he actively looking for him? What's the line? While he was still a far way off, the father spotted him, which tells us he's looking for him. He's actively looking for him. God is not asking us to do something that God isn't doing every moment of God's existence, which is actively pursuing us. So what about us? Is it about trying to make sense of the whole conundrums of the universe? Or is it about actively looking for him? And insights come along the way. They do. Amen? Like I said, there are profound and beautiful things we've come to know about God. And God, who is ultimately completely not knowable, as I mentioned before, right? We're a finite, imperfect being trying to fully understand an infinitely perfect being. And yet, in the person of Christ, we have someone we personally know. We have someone who pitched his tent with us. And so if you have that question in your soul, are you the one, Jesus? I see a lot of darkness in the world. Much like John the Baptist, we're screaming for a universal cleanup. Huh? That's what's consistent about our nature, is the need for that. But if in your bones is the same question of John the Baptist, are you the one? Go ahead and ask him. Go ahead and ask Christ. Ask him every day, and he will let you know. He will let you know. That's the ultimate in it, isn't it? Like I said, it's not about the answers we get. It's about the getting of the answers. And that's what this community is about, right? Is our action, and the action comes from the contemplation. As we stop and think about what God has done for us, it should lead us into action, and our action should lead us into a deeper contemplation, which leads us to our next action. That is the journey of our life. Not a compilation of answers that we hold in some book, like some cosmic accounting system. But really, that one thing keeps leading to the next, because there it is in the life of Christ. Paul said this so well, didn't he, in Romans 5. We boast not only in all that stuff out there, but in our suffering. We boast in our suffering because suffering leads to endurance, endurance leads to character, character leads to, help me, who knows this one? God has really messed me up this morning. I take no responsibility for it. It's not my lack of sleep, it's not my travel. Suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint. Romans 5:5. Hope does not disappoint. We sang about it, didn't we? We just sang about this hope. That's not just an answer we get, but that's a journey that we take. And it will lead us always right back to him, right back to the God. It's almost like we're walking in a fuzz, and that we catch ourselves and refocus and turn to God, and what we find is he's right behind us going, hi, because he's actively seeking us, not passively noticing us. Don't ever lose sight of that. I think it's where a lot of people lose sight of their dignity, is they forget he's actively looking for us. And so let this Advent be the reminder to us to actively look for him. Let us actively seek him. We've heard it in his word. We prepare to see him and receive him in this Eucharist, that he's going to give us his real presence to take with us again this week. No matter how well last week went or how horribly it went, no matter how faithful you were to him or unfaithful to him, he's right here offering us his presence again. Let us receive that opportunity as we prepare for Christmas to remember that he came to us, but also to prepare ourselves to receive him anew. May God be praised.